Enternships.com is really a portal to connect students and graduates to work placements in startups and small businesses. So rather than necessarily doing an internship in a large corporate firm, what we say is do an internship in a startup or smaller company. And the premise really is to connect students at universities to companies they wouldn't normally come across.
Because the milk round is dominated by the big banks, the big consultancies. Everyone wants to work for Accenture, it seems. All that type of stuff. Yeah. And there's so many more companies out there, 250 man, and under type organizations that have these fantastic opportunities that often people really want to work for. I mean, how many people at university really have a desperate need to be a banker? Not that many really. But you kind of funneled into it. Through the visibility that these companies have on the
milk round. Yeah, no, you've hit the nail on the head. I think what we're trying to do with internships is really demonstrate one thing, entrepreneurship as a career path, because for many people they don't see it as an option. Another thing is as the world of small business and startups that are out there, because as you say, they do lack the visibility, they do lack the brand, they don't have the time, they don't have the resources, they don't have necessarily HR departments to come on campus themselves.
Does size really matter then? I mean, do you have an upper limit where you say, sorry guys, you're just too big for us? Because I could imagine a big company like Goldman Sachs or somebody like that saying, oh, we want in. Do you say, sorry? I mean...
So we have a situation where we have a few companies that are larger than our typical target audience. And whilst we're not stopping them from posting an opportunity, they're not necessarily the companies that we're necessarily profiling and talking about. We're starting to work with larger companies in a more creative way. So, for example, I myself am one of the founders of Startup Britain, which is this new campaign which was supported by the Prime Minister to promote entrepreneurship. And one of the things on the Startup Britain is a scheme from McKinsey, which is right now the working title is Entrepreneur First, which is kind of like creating a Teach First program for entrepreneurs. And the way that would work is it addresses the fact that a lot of graduates like the comfort of having a corporate brand behind them, and that's what's kind of stopping them taking that step into entrepreneurship, because they feared if they were to fail that they wouldn't get a quote-unquote proper job. And so what we're doing as internships is we're kind of facilitating that program, and we're working with the corporates and saying, okay, so students who want to graduate and start a venture within the first 2 years, Enternships and McKinsey and various other corporates are supporting you in doing that. But the corporates are there at the end of the 2 years. So if it doesn't work out, or you realise that you don't want to be an entrepreneur, those companies will look at your application favourably. So we are finding ways of working with corporates without necessarily doing recruitment for them directly. I kind of welcome this because they value the entrepreneurial mindset, that intrapreneurship, so to speak. So and the skills that you develop as an entrepreneur, and even if it hasn't worked out, stand you in good stead to be an employee of any kind of organisation. So what we've found is that companies of all shapes and sizes are valuing this kind of entrepreneurial mindset, which is very much what we're trying to kind of nurture through internships.
Yeah. Do you see at that talk that I mean, I'm sure you know the TED series.
Yes.
So Ken Robinson did a brilliant talk a couple of years ago, didn't he? And he was talking about exactly this topic, about, hey, listen, we're educating our kids for the economy of 20 years ago.
Definitely.
And we're bringing these skills in that, hey, we can't predict what's happening 5 years in the future. So, what we really need to do is equip these students with this creative, the confidence skills, the communication skills, the problem-solving skills, because we can't actually we can't predict what's going to happen in the future. So we need to give them this, the tools to adapt to that. I thought it was a brilliant talk. In fact, if anybody's listening, not aware of it, TED.com, Sir Ken Robinson, check it out. Absolutely, a brilliant talk. Back to the program here, Raj. This is a sort of, I've just had a play on the site itself. Firstly, great user interface, very simple, very easy to get onto the process and all the rest of it. I'm interested to know what part you play in sort of the application processing side? Because it looks like that's where you stop. I mean, and that's fine if that's where it is. If you just dare to make the connection between a young person looking for an internship and a company that's perhaps looking for that young person coming in, and you may step away from that and say, okay, that's no longer our responsibility. But do you see yourself getting involved in the application process itself, the mechanics of that, or?
So, I mean, right now we've got an application management system, so where companies who wish, they can use our system to kind of people can submit their CVs and cover letters, and you can message the candidates. But then the actual decision, so as we're a job board and not an agency, we don't play any kind of role in manually screening any of the candidates. So we're very much there as the marketplace for companies to come across candidates and vice versa. Companies also have the freedom to just put their own email address in the advert or use their own application management system. That's also fine. What we wanted to do, especially in the early days, was encourage Enternships to become this kind of marketplace and attract all these kind of opportunities to one place to make it easier for the candidates. And over the coming months and years, we'll be looking at introducing more sophisticated filtering tools and more management tools. But ultimately, because it's the startup and small business community, it's such in a collective base, we were trying to also figure out what would be useful for a small company, what tools and intervention would they need or not need, basically. Over the coming months, we'll be introducing the ability for you to kind of headhunt and search the database. But right now, it's more the companies have to post their role. Last week, we introduced a new feature where you can start just following companies. And so if, for example, a company doesn't have a role right now, you could just make yourself known to them and you can start following them. So when they do have a role, you get notified. And we're going to be kind of pursuing that further and releasing some new features over the coming months around that concept. We want to kind of create communities around these employers, and I think what we're trying to do is because we're coming at it from a startup and small business angle. These companies are not necessarily seen as graduate recruiters. There might not be very much information about them. So over the coming months, we're looking at really beefing up the company profiles, giving companies a chance to really demonstrate what they do. I mean, right now they can already upload kind of photos of their work environment. And just to give more information, because as a startup, a student on campus is not going to know much about them. But that's why we're also allowing candidates to start following these companies, so that any updates, any new posts, they get notified. So very much, as what you said, is to create this kind of high engagement and kind of these communities around these employers.
I love your ambition, Raj. Why have you decided to conquer the world before you've done anything else?
I think with the benefit of an internet startup is that you can literally touch the world literally still as a startup. So we have companies in over 20 different countries that are advertising roles. We've had companies in India that have taken on interns in the UK. We've got companies in New York that have virtual interns who are based in Glasgow, so they communicate via Skype. So what we're trying to do is really open up the marketplace and say that actually you're not limited by geography, you're not limited by the types of opportunities. Technology has made it possible to do virtual internships, so to speak. And given the current crisis in the kind of graduate unemployment situation, we're really trying to say, actually, look beyond the usual suspects, look beyond the normal kind of companies you would do. And many students, for example, are interested in doing gap years or taking some time out. So when you're going backpacking in India, why not do an internship or do some work experience in a startup or small company out there?
Right.
So we're really trying to be as global as we can from day one, but with a very strong focus on the UK in the first instance.
Okay, problem for you, Raj. I always think problems. It's probably why I'm an unsuccessful entrepreneur. Okay, how do you vet this? Because I could just be. I've tried it. I've registered myself on as a business, and it looks like I could just put an advert out there. But I could be anybody, right? Particularly with this international aspect. I've read a few really quite alarming articles recently about jobs that weren't really jobs. I think it was a Filipino example where some kind of recruitment agency place jobs in London, getting people either coming over. It almost got to the point where it's kind of human trafficking type of thing.
Okay, sure.
How have you sort of dealt with that? Are you aware that this potentially is a problem right now?
Yes,
probably
yeah.
not, but.
Yeah, no, completely. So the way we try and do that right now is there is an element of manual vetting. We just try and just check that the company signing up at least looks on the surface legitimate. Where we're not sure about what it is that they're doing or what they're asking for, we do send them an email and before approving them. So there is that element of a manual screen. But obviously we're limited to how much detail we can go to, especially with startups. Some startups are so early, there may not necessarily be a formal website up by now and things like that. So that is definitely a challenge. And one of the ways we are hoping to combat that is by saying that over time we're going to have a review mechanism where companies can give feedback to the candidates, and they'll kind of that eBay style feedback process.
Internships have been really topical recently.
Yeah.
Everyone's talking about pay, unpay, all that kind of stuff. What's your take on this?
Okay, so we encourage companies to pay where possible and at least cover expenses, and so they're not out of pocket. I think the key thing is to make sure that the opportunity, if it is unpaid, if it's expenses only, that the candidate is actually learning and developing themselves as a result of the opportunity. So I think up to 3 months is okay because there you have got enough time to get used to the company, get to grips with what you need to do and add value. And anything more than that, the tasks are likely to become more repetitive and you're less likely to learn. But what we do say is that where you can, make sure that you do reimburse out-of-pocket expenses. But in the current climate, we have to be realistic and realise actually getting any form of experience or getting a foot on the job ladder is very difficult. So what we say to candidates is, even if the role is unpaid initially, try and make yourself indispensable and create yourself a full-time opportunity as a result. So say that, look, I'm willing to do this up to 3 months, but at that point, I want to make sure that there is an opportunity for this to become full-time and paid, and kind of create your own job, so to speak.
I'm going to talk about money, Raj, because it looks like I can come on for free and apply for free and post my jobs for free. How are you funding this?
Sure. So right now it's self-funded, so as a bootstrap venture, we basic listings are free. Some companies pay for premium features, so if you want to be on their homepage, if you want to be in our newsletter or through our social media channels, you'll pay a premium listing fee. And right now, obviously, with a marketplace, it's important that we get the companies signing up and stuff, hence the kind of free listings. But over the coming months, we'll be moving more towards paid for listings. So every listing will be paid for. But it's just whilst in the early days, we're kind of keeping it free, taking feedback from companies, seeing what works, see what doesn't work, because we're literally, the platform is changing week by week with minor changes, but we're taking on feedback from users and figuring out what works and what doesn't work.
Are you doing anything with regards to the quality of the applicant, or do you think that everyone needs a shot at this, or you're thinking, hang on, no, it needs to be a certain type of person? Right
now, we're of the mindset that everyone needs a shot at this, mainly because we couldn't find any evidence to say that just because you go to a top-tier university, that will make you fit for purpose, especially in a startup environment where they need more the passion and the hunger and the ability to kind of get stuff done. So what we didn't want to say was it's only open to the top-tier, top 20 universities. We want to make it open, but we want to monitor the situation, get feedback from the companies on what are the tools and kind of filters that they're applying, and what can we implement in our site that would help them in that process.
Gone for the world, haven't you? So when are you going to get it? When is World Conquest for you?
So we're in the process of doing a funding round ourselves. So we're in the process of kind of raising angel investment and kind of scaling up. So hopefully next couple of months that will be sorted. We're very much going to focus initially on UK and Europe because you've got the freedom of movement, but keeping an eye out on other markets all the time. So I suppose it's a case of a lot is going to happen. You'll see a lot will be happening over the next couple of months. So it's a process of closing the investment round. We've got a number of exciting initiatives and partnerships which we'll be unveiling next couple of months. So it's really a case of go, go, go. So hopefully, I mean, it's a case of watch this space, really. I think we've covered a lot. I suppose it would just be a plug, really, for any startups and small companies that are watching this. If they're looking for talent to come and join them, then set up a company profile. As you heard, it's free to sign up right now. Mm-hmm. So I think it would be wrong of me not to do a plug for Enternships.com at the end.
No, absolutely right. And it's a great idea, Raj. I can absolutely endorse that. I don't see anybody that would have a problem with this at all. I think it's fantastic. Both for companies that are looking to bring resources on board and could do with a hand, but also for all the young people out there that need this type of opportunity and previously didn't have access to it. So absolutely check out internship.com, I think.
Thank you so much.